Thinking about buying a franchise? Don't go it alone. Just like a buyer's agent in real estate, you deserve someone who's on your side every step of the way. That's where Todd Abraham, the franchise guy, comes in. Todd's consulting services are completely free to anyone looking to buy a franchise. He'll represent your interest, make sure all your questions are answered, and walk you through the entire buying process. With Todd in your corner, you'll have the best chance for success from your first call to the day you hold the keys to your new business. So before you buy a franchise, talk to someone who knows the industry inside and out and works for you. Call Todd Abraham, the franchise guy, today at 423-381-0925 for a free, no-pressure consultation. That's 423-381-0925. Your future in franchising starts here. Good Monday afternoon. It is August the 5th, and you are listening to the Franchise Marketing Systems Client Spotlight Podcast. And today we are blessed to have with us Mr. Hunter Wade, who is the founder and president of J. Burns Pizza Franchises. Wow, that is a mouthful for sure. And he's got an interesting story to tell us about the beginning of the business and how him and his dad kind of inherited and bought into the name itself, which is actually way back from, I think, the 60s. Hunter Wade, welcome to the show, brother.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So you told me an interesting story when you and I were talking a couple of days ago by phone. If you can just tell us just a little bit of history about the how J. Burns Pizza got started and how you guys kind of got into it, and that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so J. Burns was started by a gentleman named Jerry Burns, which is where he got that's where it comes from. It actually was 3 different pizza shop names before it became J. Burns. He learned the hard way of naming it after somebody else's restaurant. It was Jerry's Pizza King, then it was Pizza King, and then eventually J. Burns. Started in 1965, and then from the 60s all the way until the early 80s, they grew up to 11 locations. He had a partner named Bernie Jackson, so he's also kind of a J. Burns in his own right, and they ran everything, and then eventually, keep it short, they shut everything down by 1993. My father grew up next door neighbors to Bernie Jackson and his kids. His first job at 14 years old was at J. Burns Pizza, washing dishes, bussing tables. He worked there all the way through high school and then into his college years. And by the time I grew up or I was born and was growing up, J. Burns was long gone. And he would always tell me about how he wanted to bring it back. There's so many memories attached to it here in Central Florida because the stores were all over, from Polk County all the way into Tampa, Clearwater, Brandon, Zephyr Hills, Bartow. They had 11 locations scattered out, and so it was a big deal and a lot of memories tied to that. And when I was growing up, he'd always tell me stories and try to cook the pizza from scratch. Until one day, 2008, the rights to the name J. Burns Pizza became available, and he just went ahead on a whim and bought them and figured if there was ever an opportunity to bring the business back, he'd be the one to do it. And with his connections with the family, we got the original recipe after a couple of years and opened up in December of 2010, and we've been running strong ever since.
The rest is history, as they say, right? So now here's a neat question I thought of. Is any of the locations where you're at now the same as the original company's locations?
No. It's funny you say that because one of the original locations for the very first J. Burns is in Winter Haven, and that became available a couple of years ago, and we almost took them up on that. It's just the demographics of where that location are now versus where they were in the 60s, you can imagine, are a little bit different. And so we didn't go in there, but we're very close. All 3 of our locations are within a couple miles of where existing stores were previously. That's not necessarily intentional. It just worked out that way.
That's very cool. So do you get a lot of business from folks from nostalgia who grew up like your dad eating J. Burns Pizza?
Oh, definitely. So when my father, whose name is Matt, when he first bought the rights to the name, the first thing he did was make a Facebook page back in 2008, 2009, and within a few months he had 6 or 7,000 people following him.
Wow.
We didn't open a store. We didn't say we were opening a store. It was just a kind of a branding thing that he wanted to test out and test the waters and see if there's anybody who is interested from that, kind of nostalgia. And absolutely. I mean, most of our clientele, it's a little bit scary for me to think about franchising outside of Central Florida because it's hard to tell how much of our current clientele is, based off of that nostalgia factor of either kids or kids' or grandparents, telling stories and kind of where, they hear about us from a word of mouth. And, but yeah, we love to hear that. I mean, for the first few years, we still hear it every week now. We'll get somebody coming in and that's moved from out of town and they're coming to visit, family, and they're like, Jay Burns is back, and there's no way it's the same Jay Burns that we grew up on in the 70s or the 80s. And I love hearing that. I love hearing all the stories, people traveling from all over the country now coming back to visit us, it's really cool. Something we're really proud of.
That's very cool. That'd actually be a catchy slogan. Jay Burns is back.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now you've got 3 locations, and then how long have you legally been a franchise now?
So we've been running the stores as franchises for, I think, going on 3 years now. And we have the parent company set up to pay franchise dues to. And so we've been operating so that way we can provide the financials of the stores as if they were operating as franchises.
That's very
but we
cool.
just have now finished our, legal paperwork to be able to sell franchises to, new investors this year. So we're really excited to see what that looks like.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Now, so when somebody comes in to buy a franchise with Jay Burns Pizza, and by the way, for those of you who are listening, the website is real simple, jburnspizza.com. That's just the letter J, burnspizza.com. So as somebody comes in to buy a franchise, obviously there's a lot of pizza competition out there with Domino's and Pizza Hut and Little Caesars, 3 of the big names. What do you feel would give them that competitive edge over some of the big chains like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We like to not consider those our competition and kind of point the needle more towards like a Mellow Mushroom or a Blaze, something with a little higher end, I don't say clientele, but, product. We're not selling, our pizza is a little bit more expensive than, a Pizza Hut or a Domino's, and a little higher quality ingredients, not a little, quite a bit higher. But really what sets us apart is it's St. Louis style pizza in Central Florida. Most people don't even know what that is. And if they've heard of it, they probably haven't had it the right way. But we're very authentic, to its nature. We have some very good partners up there in the St. Louis area that we kind of bounce ideas back and forth on, from the style of our ovens to the type of, ingredients that we use are very specific. And just to give one little secret to what it is, instead of before a pizza goes in the oven, most New York style or even Chicago style pizzas, they'll throw it in a little bit of flour to keep it from sticking to the oven. We coat our dough in cornmeal and salt.
Okay.
It gives it a texture, gives it a crunch. It's thin, it's crispy, it's cut in squares. The toppings go all the way to the edge. There's a few different things, but we definitely stand out. If you put our pizza in a room of, you just named 10 of the top 10 pizza restaurants out there, we're going to stand out. You're going to easily be able to tell which one sticks out like a sore thumb. And, that gives us that edge when we're moving into new markets.
Well, you just gave me a really good idea. I think your first place to do your Facebook market promotion would be St. Louis.
Now, see, there's a lot. There's some amazing Emos, Casanos, Donato's. There's so many amazing pizza shops up there that we've traveled up there and visited and seen. Actually, Dayton, Ohio, for some reason, is like a very big hub for this style pizza as well. It's not very far away. So there's an amazing market for it up there, and that's what we're trying to bring because nobody knows what it is, and once they have it, they're addicted. Not just to the taste, but to the way you eat. It's different than a New York style pizza. Everything's different about it. So it's really once we had it, or I guess once my father had it, once Jerry's from up north and or that kind of central area, and when he brought that down to Florida, he realized there was a big market that nobody had ever heard of this before,
Right.
and was like, oh, I can capitalize on this, and we're to this day, it's incredible that nobody else has really come into the market doing this. There's very few pizza places from Orlando to Tampa that have a similar product as us.
Well, if anybody does try to come to the market, you may have to send Vinny and Guido to pay him a visit, to discourage him,
Yeah, we've had a couple local people try to, try to get in some
Guido,
secrets.
we're here to discourage you from us opening a St. Louis style pizza shop. Thanks for hearing us out. All right. So now, tell us about your franchise fee. What do you think the minimum investment would be for somebody to get started? And then also let us know, what kind of training and support that they can expect once they get started.
Okay, so our entry fee for the franchise is $25,000, and that's going to cover your 2 weeks of on-hand training, a week inside the store for the franchisee, and then whoever's going to be running the store, if it's an absentee owner or if it's an actual operator owner, along with any of their assistant managers, shift leads, any kind of managerial kind of personnel would be on site with us as well, and we'll do a full week going through every single part of the business, our POS system, the phones, our customer service, kind of our regulations, how to make the pizzas, the everything that goes on, and then we'll do another week of training with them a week before they open at their location as well. So kind of they'll see how every kitchen, even if it looks the same, flows a little differently. And
Right.
So you kind of want to have some experience working both, kind of see what our different models are and then what theirs are. The entry level fee for opening it's quite a wide range. We've done this a few times now, so we've kind of knocked it down anywhere from 250 to about 450,000, depending on how big and how crazy you want. If it's an existing pizza restaurant or if it's a complete dark shell, we've done it all. We've converted a hibachi restaurant into our main location. We converted an office space, and then we've also converted a dark shell where there was just dirt floors. So we I think our middle of the line is somewhere around 300 to 350,000. If we can get into an existing restaurant, pizza or not, we like that for just because they'll have the electrical capabilities, the plumbing, and then grease trap. Some of the more expensive things that have kind of gotten out of hand to do now will already be in place.
Well, and the seating capability too. Like we've got one or two empty Hardee's locations here. One right by the interstate, which would probably make a really good location. I'm still surprised at that because we have other Hardee's that aren't by the interstate here that are still open. Now, it's really odd that the one close to the interstate didn't make it for whatever reason. Now, what kind of ovens do you use? Do you use brick ovens or do you use standard ovens or?
We use Edge. So Edge ovens, they're conveyor belt, but they're not your standard conveyor belt like what you would see in, let's say like a Papa John's or a Pizza Hut. We used to use a Rotoflex. So if anybody's familiar in the pizza industry or been around long enough, there's a few big names, Middleby Marshall, Peerless, and then you got Rotoflex. It was a 4-deck tall, rotating stone ovens. So it's very kind of you got that stone oven feel that a lot of people like. But once we got to making so many pizzas that you kind of sacrifice consistency for that, that stone oven feel. And so we worked with the company out of Dayton, Ohio, figured out what ovens they were using. They were awesome to work with, and found a way to basically get the exact same pizza that we had with the stone ovens, but without. A lot of people argue that's not possible. Just come and try our pizza. And we didn't lose a single customer over it. We thought we would. They told us we would lose them if we swapped, but there's a level of consistency. And when you're cranking out 300-400 pizzas a night, trying to do it on the stone ovens with employees, with everything else, it's hard to keep up. So we use Edge. It's got 8 fingers, so we have a very specific airflow for the top and the bottom that's just for us, that we've kind of created with edge. And so it's a little unique, but it's very good and very consistent. And for franchisees, you want that middle ground of quality and consistency, which is hard to create when you have a third factor, which is your employees.
Right.
And as it becomes harder to get employees, you want some of your processes to be as simple as possible.
Oh yeah.
And oven, really, that fixed a lot of of those problems with us, because you don't have to have a dedicated person to run oven like you do in a lot of pizza restaurants, and you kind of sacrifice some of that emotional connection that some customers have
Right.
with a stone oven or a brick oven or a wood fire oven. But there's so many different ovens out there nowadays. It's hard to tell which one's right or wrong. We just know what works for us.
Yeah, well, the secret to that is you just throw them in there, on like a busy night, like a Friday night, like you said, where you make 400 pizzas, and so now you can do it this way, or then you bring in the new oven so you can do it this way.
Yeah,
I like your new oven.
We can do 300-400 pizzas in a day now on a Friday and be at a 20-minute wait all day, versus if we were on those stone ovens, because our pizzas could be made in 6.5 minutes every single time, versus anywhere from 7 to 12 minutes on a stone oven. We're still cooking them at close to 600 degrees, so it's still hot, still gets really crispy. We like to burn the edges so it gets black around the edges. So it still cooks it the way we want. It's just, sometimes that's the deal breaker for some people, and I respect it. There's so many different types of pizzas out there. You just gotta have the one that works for you.
Well, I mean, you've proven that you guys can, not only survive but thrive in a very tough market, because, just between Little Caesars, Domino's, and Pizza Hut, those three alone, I mean, my God, they probably spend $10 billion a year on advertising. So that's pretty awesome.
They do. It's insane, and they're not gaining any ground. We pay attention to what the market's doing because it gives us a good reflection on where we should be. And you're right, we don't have that kind of budget to market. We also don't have the overhead that they have. So
that's right.
There's a lot of factors, but I think they averaged 3% growth last year, which is not good when you're that big. Not when you're spending that kind of money either.
That's right.
So we're very fortunate to be where we're at and to have the team around me that I have right now.
So now when somebody comes on board, they become a franchisee, they open their location, how is the website layout going to work? Are they going to be added to the primary site? Will they get their own site? How will that work?
So they're going to be added to our main site, where we want to keep everything, as kind of as commercial as possible. We want to look like one of the big players, even though we're not yet. And so they'll be added to our main site. When they go to online ordering, they'll be tagged on there. Now our online ordering will be GPS based, so it'll recognize where the customer's trying to place an order at. So let's say it's a franchisee in Tampa, it's not just going to automatically route them to our Lakeland location. It'll see where they're at and suggest the closest store. And then, they'll be a part of everything instead of, kind of branching off. I don't want to end up with 20 or 30 different websites over the next, 5-6 years.
Yeah, I don't.
Same with our app, same with everything. They'll be added to the app. They'll be added to everything. And the benefit is some of the programs and some of the companies we're working with now have the ability, or we've picked them specifically because they have the ability to grow. Right. And so even though certain things are real simplified now, there's products in place that allow us to scale without having to, change anything out, reinvent the wheel for what we're doing. So it should be real easy to just add somebody on board to everything.
So now, do y'all sell any other products besides pizza, like calzones or anything like that, or?
We do salads and we do subs. We use all boar's head meat for our subs, except for our meatballs. We make an amazing meatball sub. Once you become a franchisee, you'll figure out the secrets to that. But we use all boar's head meats for our subs. We use Martine's rolls. It's like an 8-inch Italian hoagie roll. It's just simple. It's good. We get it made fresh for us 3 days a week. We also have an extensive gluten-free menu, and that's a huge part of our brand. I myself am 100% gluten-free for the past 4 years. As a pizza owner, it's not not what I foresaw coming in my direction. That is not by choice.
Right.
But we sell a lot of gluten-free pizzas, a lot of gluten-free subs. We have it designed where we can make every single item on our entire menu gluten-free, 100% celiac safe. We've been doing it for 7 years. We've never had a single instance of either cross-contamination or any reports of anybody being sick. Also some secrets in there that the franchisee will learn, but if that's important to anybody, as they see trends in the market, that's one that we jumped on, not just because it's trendy, but because I myself want to be able to enjoy our food. So, that's kind of our main focus, salad subs and gluten-free. We also do wings, as well, but that's more so that's people love to have their wings with their pizza.
Oh, yeah.
So, but that's not our primary focus.
Now, here's a quick, simple question, but your store's alcohol or no alcohol?
No alcohol. And that's
good.
Part of our franchise agreement is no alcohol. There's a few factors that, go into that, but just keep it simple. It's easier. Just like the ovens.
Yes.
You eliminate certain factors, and as an owner, it reduces your headaches.
Yeah. Well, and the legal ramifications, because, the law has gotten so much in favor of people who are getting injured by somebody that's consumed alcohol that, it could even go as deep as the store manager, one of the franchisee that owns that store. So I think you're very, very well off to keep it alcohol free for sure.
Yeah, no liability. Opens up who we can hire for employees, age-wise. Everybody can do everything, starting at 15, 16 years old. You can work any position in the kitchen. If we had alcohol, it'd be different because you couldn't run a register and hand out beer or wine. So many factors involved. Obviously, we're giving up some margins for food costs because alcohol is great at that, but it's not worth it to us. I'd rather do what we do and do it right than have to worry about, adding anything else to the mix.
That's right. So any other perks that we haven't talked about that your franchisees can look forward to other than a guy with a briefcase with a handcuff to his wrist bringing in those secret recipes to their new locations?
I guess the biggest one, and I assume everybody says this, it's like a bad car salesman, but I'm there 24/7. They always say you buy from me and I'll answer my phone 24/7, and a few months goes by and you can't get them. They don't even work at the dealership anymore. But unlike that, this is all I do. I don't have any other, I don't have any other sticks in any other fires. Like, this is all I do. I went to school to do this. I've wanted to do this for a very long time. When I was little, I wanted to be a chef. I realized there's no money in being a chef, but there's money in being a restaurant owner.
Yeah.
I had some good influences along the way to teach me that, but I just love doing this. I love every aspect of it. I love to wash dishes. I love to sweep the floors in the dining room. I love the sense of providing something that somebody doesn't need and they could have gotten from someone else, but they chose to get it from us. Right. And I take a big responsibility in that. And, I feel honored when people choose to spend their money with me over the next guy, because it's a very volatile business. And there's you could, especially where we're at in Lakeland, you could walk a mile either direction and pop into 3 or 4 other pizza shops. Right. We're not in these secluded places where there's no restaurants. I'm literally within 3 pizza shops in one of my locations in a stone's throw. But you're going to come to J. Burns, and I just love that. And so as a franchisee, especially the new ones, obviously I can't be there for everybody as we grow. But these first, 5, 6, 7 locations, as long as we're in Central Florida, I'm going to be all over it like water on rice. I just love that. I like the new stuff. I like change. I like, evolving and growing. I like problem solving, which are a lot of things that kind of scare people away. But I'm going into this because that's what I like to do. I don't want to say I don't need to do this. 3 restaurants is enough to keep me busy and enough to keep me occupied. But I like the thrill of, new adventures, and I like people. And I assume if we get to that point where we reach an agreement and we're opening a store, that me and that franchisee are going to be getting along well, and I'm just going to be there. This is where my time is has been for the last decade and more, and that's what I plan on doing. So,
That's awesome. Yeah, and it does make a difference, when the franchisor, and I too am a franchisor, and I too am looking forward to those days, Lord willing, when I get to meet and start training our first franchisees and, just watching them grow and, watching them skip all the hurdles that I had to learn how to jump myself, So that is one good thing, and while we're on the topic, it's good to mention just for general information that one of the advantages of, say, buying a pizza franchise with J. Burns Pizza, as opposed to going out and reinventing the wheel and starting your own pizza shop or your own pizza restaurant, is that they already have the proven systems in place. And so you can look to get to your financial goals 2 to 3 years faster, according to the research and the proven statistics that are out there. And just from what I've heard, and this is the first time we've really covered the concept of the style of pizza that you do, man, I'm hoping that somebody here in the Southeast Tennessee area decides to buy a franchise with you so I can, because I do love pizza. But one of the things, and maybe I can ask you this question, one of the issues that I've run into, because we ordered pizza a decent amount, sometimes it's just too greasy. Do you guys have any issues with, that kind of a thing, or the way you cook your pizzas?
We do not. There's a lot of factors involved in that. Most of that comes down to quality of ingredients, with your cheese, with the sauce, with your meats, depending on what it is. And since we use such high quality, products, all that will be disclosed to any future franchisee, and what goes into those products. We don't run into that issue. We're not incredibly greasy. And I know what you mean. Sometimes some pizza shops, you cook a pizza, you can pick it up and drip the oil off and pat it down with a napkin.
Yeah.
We don't have that issue. I mean, some pizza is going to be greasier than others. If you get a meat lovers, it's going to be greasier than if you get, a veggie.
Right.
But, that comes down to quality of your bacon and your sausage and your pepperoni and different things. And, that's one of those things. I do want to go back to the, what we bring to the table and what I bring to the table with the franchisees, is my personal relationship with our vendors, Cisco and GFS. We've been, especially with Cisco, I've had the same sales rep for the last 11 years. And we've grown together. Two of his kids have worked for me before going off to college. I know him. I know our district rep. I know the vice president of Cisco Central Florida. Through trial and error, I've known a lot of people throughout the company in Cisco, and there is if I'm vouching for you and you're a part of our brand, then our Cisco rep, shout out Ron, he's going to be our dedicated rep for anybody here in Central Florida. And there's a massive, massive bonus to having people that work for these distribution companies on our side that eat at our restaurants, that love us. And I make it a point to have good relationships with these people. Our local health inspector for Lakeland, we actually got 3 different ones. They eat at our restaurants on a regular basis. Shannon was just eating at our South Florida location 2 weeks ago, not even given an inspection. I mean, that just goes to show our level of attention to detail, our cleanliness. We are actually the vice president for state of Florida for the ServSafe certification and management training. We catered her daughter's birthday party earlier this year.
That's cool.
We make it a point to make good relationships with the people who have influence and can make a difference. GFS is the same way. Their warehouse is in Plant City. It's very close. It's 15, 20 minutes from our current restaurants. If there's anything we need, we can go in there to the warehouse and grab it. And their reps are, amazing. And we've worked with them now for off and on. We started with them in 2010. We moved away to Cisco 100%. And then we're back to kind of 50-50 between Cisco and GFS. And I don't entertain anybody else because, we have real loyalty to those who are loyal to us. And so that's a big thing for a lot of people because we've worked such great contracts out for food costs and, making sure that we get the product instead of the next guy, especially at the outages of everything over the last few years with COVID. It seems like everything's been out of stock, one week or the other. And we luckily didn't fall victim to most of that because of our relationships. So that's a huge plus to come on board with us versus anybody else is that right there. And I just want to point that out.
Yeah, that is a big plus. And of course, being in the restaurant business now, especially with inflation like it is, you do have to watch every dollar. So let's turn the table just a little bit as we get ready to wrap up here. Tell us about your experience with franchise marketing systems. How's it been working with them?
It's been good. Surprisingly, not surprising that it's been good, but I've been wanting to venture down this road for quite a few years. I mean, we opened up a store last year. We opened up a store in 2020. So we've been busy, but this was a goal of ours for a long time. I just didn't know who to go to. And I researched in different companies and I had seen stuff, but it's hard to kind of get a grip on like who the people are that are involved. And to me, that's so important. There's the relationship side of everything. If I just don't feel like, you like me, I like you, if we just don't get along, then it's going to be hard because there's always going to be those difficult questions or there's going to be miscommunication or there's going to be things that we just don't agree on. But having the right personalities to be able to talk things through in a respectful manner makes a big difference. And with, FMS, I first met with Anthony. We met in, I think it was Orlando at a food show that I wasn't even supposed to be at. I was supposed to be at the food show the following week, but I went there on the wrong day. And, and I was just like, I hit up my Cisco rep. I was like, hey, can you get me into this food show for free? I drove out here on accident. And sure enough, he got me tickets in about 30 minutes and I got into the show for free and just happened to stop by and talk to Anthony. And I actually thought that I thought FMS was just a legal company that just wrote up, the paperwork and as like an advisory role. So that's what I sat down to talk to him about first. And it turns out they do everything. And
yes.
Anthony and I clicked. I don't want to say he might have been a little dismissive at me at first, but given that I'm so young and covered in tattoos and didn't look like I knew what I was doing because I was very confused and I wasn't supposed to be there. But he gave me the time of day. We talked and I think he saw the vision and, then I got connected with Chris and John and everybody else involved has just been awesome to work with. Everybody's been really responsive, which to me is huge. Communication, I feel like solves almost all problems that we could have.
Yes.
And so everything we've needed along the way, every dumb questions I've asked, which is there's been plenty of them because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah,
they've been amazing, and because they're doing some of the legal paperwork. They're helping us with the website. They're helping us with, there's things I don't want them to help me with, and they've been awesome to respect those bounds. Like it's gone both ways. It's been so, they've been very informative. I was really worried going through this process that everything would be getting done from a legal standpoint, but I wouldn't be learning anything.
Right.
Because there's a big gap between those two things, and
yes.
And they've done a great job of kind of filling in all those gaps. And I, on the other hand, have gone out and reached out to them, and I'm not afraid to ask stupid questions because I never like to assume that I know what's going on,
right.
even if I think I do. And so they've just been easy to work with. Not that it's an easy process, but they make it feel easy, and that's hard to do. Sometimes
they take all the anxiety out of it. They did for me. And just to give you a quick rundown of what FMS does for you, they do, as Hunter was saying, all of the legal paperwork, which primarily the biggest, most important thing is the franchise disclosure document, which you have to sell in all 50 states. But in addition to that, like he was saying, they do your they do your franchise information page for anybody interested in buying a franchise with you. Very, very professional page, by the way. They do operations manual, LLC, trademark if you don't have one already. They do an 8-page sales brochure, which is really, really good. Excuse me, and all this stuff I can say based on my own experience. And like I said, everything that you might, like you said, I didn't know what I didn't know. And then I've learned through that process, like you did, just how much they do and the purpose for doing it. And I know there's something that I've probably omitted, but that's why Franchise Marketing Systems, that's why their slogan is one-stop shop for everything franchising. So, Hunter, this has been a pleasure, brother. Tell us what the best way for those who are interested in buying a franchise with you, especially in St. Louis, Missouri, or Kansas, hint, hint. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you? Through the franchising site or direct phone number?
So if they're interested in doing a franchise, off the bat, go to jburnspizza.com and then fill out our, there's I think you put your phone number, your name, and your email address, and that'll go directly to John Naylor with FMS, and that's kind of our sales rep that we're working with alongside Anthony, and then that will get directly back to me. But on the other side, you can email me directly at hunter@jburnspizza.com. Just HUNTER at letter J, then burnspizza.com. Feel free to, send me any questions. I can send you some stuff. I can send you our brochure. I can send you, some basic information. Or if there's, any questions you have, about FMS or the process or any of this, just, email's the best for me because I have it on all my different devices. That's the best way.
Sounds good. Well, listen, as I said, we're talking to Hunter Wade. He is the president of J. Burns Pizza Franchises. That is the letter J, Burns, spelled just like it sounds, pizza.com. And you're listening to the Franchise Marketing Systems Client Spotlight broadcast on franchiseradio.net. My name is Todd Abraham, and if you're a business owner and you are considering creating a franchise out of your business, there simply is no better company in America to do that than Franchise Marketing Systems. And if you are, you can reach out to me directly at 423-381-0925. That's Eastern Standard Time. And I'll give you a free consultation and talk about all the amazing things that FMS can do to turn your passion, your vision, your business, just like with Hunter and J. Burns Pizza, into a professional, top-notch franchise that anybody would be pleased to buy into and become a member of. Hunter, thank you so much, brother. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
I would tell you to send me some of your pizza through the mail, but it just doesn't work that way.
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not.
But as we close, listen, once again, it's Hunter Wade, J. Burns Pizza, available all over the United States of America. Their website, burnspizza.com. Hunter, good night, brother. Thank you, and thank you to everybody tuning in.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.